Powerful individuals were not pleased with the transparent response of the EMPD media unit, and it became clear that I offended some people by responding to the media inquiry in the manner that I did. 3 men came up to the vehicle that I was in. And there was this sharp metal object against my neck. They got into the car and they drove off. The entire time, things being said, it's things that, they would want information on the phone. It's things that, I'm a problem at work. I had a vehicle, a gray Audi, that was following me for some time, and it is discovered to be linked to somebody by the surname of Mkwanazi. It was only later then that I had discovered that this is going to have some effect on me and that I was going to get some blowbacks for the role which I had played. So in essence, in responding to this media inquiry and assisting IPID, powerful individuals were not pleased with the transparent response of the EMPD media unit, and it became clear that I offended some people by responding to the media inquiry in the manner that I did.
Can I then ask you to have regard to paragraph 45 of your statement?
Yes.
Under the new subheading there. Can I invite you to share with the Commission what you experienced in July of 2023?
So in July 2023, it was the day of my first attack. It was a Saturday morning, I remember. I woke up to go to the cemetery where my late mother was. And I also had a relative who had recently bought a car. So I had taken that vehicle and made a turn at the Bredell Cemetery. And coming back, I was well within where I live, the street that I live in Tembisa. I was sitting with a neighbor who was on the passenger seat. And 3 men came up to the vehicle that I was in. They came there. The one that came around to the driver's seat cocked a firearm and pointed it to me. I had the windows down. And he then demanded that I switch off the vehicle. So he puts his hand in to try and reach for the keys on the ignition, but it's not the kind that you start manually with the key, it's those press buttons. And there was a lot of things that was being said. Behind me, as I was on the driver's seat, another came in and there was this sharp metal object against my neck. Initially I thought, yes, a knife that's going to slit my throat, only to discover that that is a firearm. And that, I think what hurt me the most with everything that was said at that point, it was then, it is things that are work related. And the fact that, they want a phone from me and the information which they want, and the fact that they would be, sorry, commissioners. I was hit on the head with a firearm. The accosters shoved me to the side of the passenger seat. They got into the car and they drove off. They drove past my house, and I could see my neighbor who's literally looking inside the vehicle to identify who the drivers are.
Ms. Thepa, should we take a short adjournment for you to compose yourself, perhaps.
Please, Commissioner.
Let us adjourn. You will please indicate to us, Ms. Mr. Saga. Hello, Mr. Thepa. Let's continue if you can.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you.
As I had stated that sometime in July 2023, it was on a Saturday where I had gone to my late mother's grave, situated in Bredell, and on my way back, I had parked just in the street that I live in. I had a neighbor who was sitting on the passenger seat when three accosters, came to the vehicle that I was driving. The one came onto the driver's side. The one sat behind me at behind the driver's seat, and the one had caught in, or rather closed in, the passenger that was sitting on the side. And after seeing that firearm, and when you work with firearm, you think that you have it under control up until it happens to you. So he cocks a firearm, points at me, and then he reaches to switch off the ignition, but he cannot because it is those push-start button vehicles. And he instructs me right then, they go to Cimimoto. Cimimoto meaning switch off the car. I'm very confused. I'm puzzled as to what is happening. Am I being mugged? Are they taking something? What is it that they want, these people? So the three guys, the one that was sitting on the passenger side, they then take him to place him at the back seat. And I'm now being shoved to sit on the passenger seat, where the one that had cocked the firearm initially then gets onto the driver's seat. They then drive off with us, but in the vehicle there's only four of us. As to where the third person had gone, probably back to the vehicle that they had came in. And so they drive the car past my house, and the entire time, things being said, it's things that, they would want information on the phone. It's things that, I'm a problem at work. I'm wondering as to say, how am I a problem at work? We drive, they take us to Ivory Park. The driver then parks on the side of the road. But by then, I'm confused. When you have an out-of-body experience, it be out of fear, it be out of whatever that comes with it. I had passed out, and seemingly these guys, the only thing they were mainly concerned about was my phone. They had even
can you please explain the out-of-body phenomenon? I've heard people use that term. I'm not quite sure what it means.
I'm unable to do anything. I'm numb, I'm mute, I'm not responsive. I'm trying to even make sense of how I could even project this thing that I was going through. But in essence, I'm so out of it that I'm even unable to respond, to even lift, to even make a sound.
But you continue to see or perceive what's going on.
I continued seeing everything that was happening. I saw them drive past my house. I would even direct as to say which streets they used going there to Ivory Park. But upon the Ivory territory, I'm not so familiar with it. But that's where the vehicle eventually came to a stop. And whilst halted there, they tried getting the neighbor now to open my phone and said that, but the con information sifuna kule phone. I'm thinking, what information would that be? Why would I be in possession of any information that anybody would want in that element? Commissioners, this must have been one of the most scariest things by far, because I'm hit with this metal object, a firearm. I have another one sticking out on my neck.
When you described it earlier before we adjourned, you said you felt a sharp object.
Correct.
In your statement, you said you felt a cold object.
Correct.
Yes,
It was a
yes.
cold object that had a reflection, a silver reflection on it. So if you just take a glance at it, you would seemingly think it's a knife under the circumstance, only to discover it is a firearm. And when we got to Ivory Park, and from recollection, they had then taken my phone, they had taken my wallet, but what puzzled me the most, it's the fact that I even had my bank cards in there. They could have easily accessed money from them. I'm driving a brand new vehicle that still had a temporary permit at the back that they could have taken. So what exactly do they want? They didn't come there for the car. They didn't come there for the wallet, nor the money. But the ultimate thing that was being said consistently was the phone that had information. As to what information, it is still unknown to me.
Thank you, Colonel. Perhaps you could continue from paragraph 55 and discuss what happened thereafter.
So they then request my neighbor to, they ask him as to what's wrong with me, but he then informs them that I'm epileptic. So the one had already exited the vehicle, so they instruct him to then come around and drive me to hospital. And he managed to move the vehicle slightly off. He's not much of a driver himself, but just to attempt in getting us away from it. And we then drove straight to home because my phone is gone, my bank cards are gone. The one thing that I would put as a priority, it is the stoppage of the bank cards. Upon getting home, I was able to access the phone, one of the relatives. I then called a friend who I'd given my ID number to say, please call Standard Bank, call Capitec, that you block my cards. And I then moved from home with the guy. We went to the Rabasoto police station. Whilst at the police station, I'm registering this case of kidnapping and, being pointed with firearm and theft, robbery. They assist me to an extent that the docket is open, the A1 statement is written, the 3M forms I've completed, even the cover, the docket cover, the diary SAP 5 is then made. And just on its completion, they then tell me that because at some point where this accosters had driven the vehicle, they would need to obtain the fingerprints. And, it was a correct procedure to say the least. But what had been a bit of a hindrance for me, commissioners, is this vehicle doesn't even belong to me. What they had wanted to do is they had wanted to take this vehicle and take it to their pounds, maybe between Van Ryndiep or even Eriton for that matter. I'm privileged by virtue of being a law enforcement agent to know exactly what happens at those pounds. A new vehicle coming in, coming out, it would be having certain parts gone, certain things removed from it. How am I then liable to things that wasn't my own making? I think it is the only thing that had directed me, or rather pushed me not to want to give in the vehicle for further processing. But I further suggested to the station and the guy that was assisting me, the officer that was taking the statement, to say, I do not mind if the LCRC is called to the station, that they process and take fingerprints at the station. But what would be a challenge for me, it would be that which would allow the vehicle to be taken to the SAPS 13 and be kept at their pound over a certain period due to the theft that happens there.
And sorry, Colonel, what is the LCRC?
The local criminal register record, the criminal register, the local criminal register record, yes.
Local Criminal Records Center.
Centers, my
That's
apology,
at the top of page 15 of your statement.
My apology, Commissioner.
No problem.
Thank you, Colonel. So after you've explained your hesitation or reluctance to hand the car over at the police station, what then was the response you received there? You're at paragraph 58.
They told me that they cannot register the case. They told me that if I'm refusing then to have this vehicle taken into the pound, then they will not register the case.
Please continue.
So are we on paragraph 55, you said?
59.
59, my apology. So
maybe before you do that, Colonel Thepa, before this incident, had you ever had any incidents, negative incidents that relate to the performance of your functions?
absolutely not, Commissioner. Absolutely not. In my 16 years of experience working as an officer, I have never been in any altercation, any physical thing that would amount to this, that I'm further handled, for lack of a better word.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to think, and I'll mention personal experiences. You know, when you used to have those detachable radios in cars, on one occasion that was stolen from my car, the police came to my house and did that dusting up thing and all that to take fingerprints. And there was a second incident also involving my car. I forget what that was about. Again, the police came to my house and again took the fingerprints at my house. I'm just trying to understand why the police could not have gone to wherever the car was to do this, or have things since changed?
Commissioner, it's still a confusing element for me, because as a law enforcement, in my existence within the EMPD, in execution of my duties, I would recover vehicles. Part of the recovery would be summoning the LCRC, having a photographer come out to the scene, unless it would be with unfavorable weather conditions, that then they would request that, it be done at the station or even at the pound. But under no circumstance would they then say, let's take this vehicle to an SAP 13 pound for processing, whereas I know in my personal capacity that, these people do come out to the scene. And it wasn't even an instruction being given. It was a humble request to the SAPS and saying, please, the vehicle doesn't belong to me. If it can be processed at the station, I don't even mind waiting. I will do just that. But seemingly that wasn't the case.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry. In that last paragraph, the last sentence at paragraph 58, you say they declined to register the case at that point, even though the docket was completed. Can you just speak to that a little bit? Because you seem to be suggesting that there was sufficient information to open a docket.
Yes. So there was sufficient information. Already they had reduced to writing the statement I had deposed to them, and the fact that, here's an A1 statement that is existing. Here are the preamble statements, the the diary that gets inserted into the docket, the nature of the crime that has been created, the elements thereof. But the only thing that was now a bone of contention was the physical object that they needed to impound. The docket was literally complete, Commissioner. I would believe that from that point, it would have gone to somebody for perusal, maybe a colonel of some, a captain of some sort, for perusal and just oathing, and then it was ready for processing.
Once you got back to work, and in light of your belief that the attack you endured was linked to your work, did you make a request to anyone, Chief Mapieye or a superior, to provide you with some additional security in light of what you'd experienced?
Commissioners, it must be understood the type of environment we work in, where protocol is everything, a chain of command is everything, and furthermore, where seniority would play a role in that. I'm a lieutenant colonel. I'm literally 3 positions below what a deputy chief of police is, if not more. We have an instant where a whole deputy chief of police life is in danger. 6 then assistants from the institution, maybe not even department, the institution, but seemingly could not receive it. Who am I if I'm just a crawling ant within the department to receive such protection?
And which commissioner in particular are you speaking about now?
I'm referring to Commissioner Spies, where, various threats have been made against him, where you would hear officers that because he's operating a motorcycle, it would be easy to get rid of him. I remember this one time, Commissioner, that prior to my attack, I had a vehicle, a grey Audi, that was following me for some time. I further informed Commissioner Spies. Now it seemed like because of this blue light blesser saga that everybody's just crumbling. This vehicle that is subsequently following me, I sent him the registration. He conducts a vehicle inquiry on it, and it is discovered to be linked to somebody by the surname of Mkwanazi. That's not even coming from the region or area of Ekurhuleni, but instead it is a Pretoria-based address. So that alone, I think just putting the dots together says a lot. Maybe it is Ibongo Fanani and nothing beyond that.
Can you please repeat and explain the last thing you said?
Oh, sorry, Commissioner. Ibongo Fanani translated to, they happen to have the similar surname with Brigadier Mkwanazi.